Hey, what's up everybody? This is Muth24, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the Resident Evil Degeneration DVD. This is a film that takes place somewhere between Resident Evils 4 and 5, and covers a small incident that Claire and Leon got themselves involved with, which, if you know anything about the promotional material for this, trailers, whatever, that is a zombie outbreak within an airport, which is kind of a different approach for the series. You know, a lot of stuff has been in a much bigger scale, and this is a much smaller, self-contained outbreak. And the thing that's interesting about this film is that airport scenario, which has been in every trailer that I've ever seen, every poster, every piece of promotional material for this film, that's only half of the film. And I think to that end, they did a really good job in not giving too much away right off the bat. Now that said, the first half with the airport is basically just gratuitous violence and gore. It's basically eye candy for any Resident Evil fans. It's just the setting where you have people trapped. Leon has to go in and save them. Shoots a bunch of zombies. They make their way out. End of that little arc. The second part takes a couple different routes at the same time. It's covering a few different stories, and there's Leon and Claire kind of take a back seat to the events that are unfolding before them. I mean, these are characters that we're already familiar with for anyone who's played the games, so they're really not that prominent, other than being like the characters who are at every event as the story is progressing. Claire's story is a little bit more developed than Leon's. Leon's just sort of still in his role as a government agent, and he's very well versed in dealing with all the zombies and the BOWs, and he always comes up with a plan. But Claire's part of this task force that is trying to counteract different bioterrorist groups around the world. Not the same style that her brother does in Resident Evil 5, where he's all gung-ho. Hers is a little bit more of almost a diplomatic take on things. But anyways, she is at the airport meeting with some friends from India when the story begins, and they talk about that there was some recent outbreak there as well. And she is Claire sort of acts as this, tethering of all the beginning plot points, kind of tying them all together to give us a better understanding of where this story is going to head and what direction it's going to take. So you have the whole Indian outbreak at the beginning, and then there's a bit about the senator character who he's backing a couple pharmaceutical companies that people that are really kind of iffy about, and they think they might have ties to these outbreaks. So people are protesting him. He's really lost all of his credibility with the public, and he's really just kind of a smug jerk, and isn't really that much of a character as he is a plot device. He's just kind of this chubby, snarky caricature of a person. He's just kind of there. And I think because of the fact that this film is only an hour and a half, it's well enough that he just serves that purpose. But he's not a particularly believable character, and he's not a particularly likable character. But that's the whole point, is that you're supposed to dislike him. So, anyways, Claire and Leon kind of take backseat to the plot direction, and then also this new character who is she's actually under Leon's. She's in Leon's little task force that goes into the airport, and she may know more than she lets on at the beginning about what's going on, and basically she's this special task force soldier, and we learn more about her as the story goes on, and I think for an hour and a half film, her story's pretty interesting, and the direction it takes and everything. Now, there are few things about this film that kind of drag it down. The CGI is decent. It's not great. It's not nearly as impressive as the likes of Final Fantasy VII Advent Children. And the story is sort of predictable. If you've played any of the Resident Evil games, the old ones or the new ones, you're kind of going to know where this is going. For the first half, it's easy enough to figure out, you're going to kill a bunch of zombies. But even for the second half, when it takes a little bit different direction, it's kind of easy to see where things are going. Now, that said, I do think that the new characters present something very interesting to the story, and it does become a little bit deeper and make some interesting dynamics for the second half. And the tension definitely builds for the second half as well, because you have the characters kind of split up. But that said, there is some really nice attention to detail on like the chamber of the gun when they're loading that, or even some of the screens that they pull up and show all these little fine details on that. And the character models, I think they are supposed to be kind of video game-ish to keep with that whole vibe of this being a spin-off from the bigger Resident Evil series. The soundtrack is decent for the film. I mean, it's really not that big of a point for the, or selling point for the film anyways. The kind of tense action themes are just sort of generic, but the sort of moody and emotional haunting pieces are pretty good. And that's something I've noticed with the video games as well, is that those slower haunting melodies in like Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 0 tend to be some of the best in the entire soundtrack. The voice acting is pretty good overall. I think it's best when it's from voice actors who are playing characters that also appear in the video games. So like Leon and Claire's voice actors, I think, are better than pretty much anybody else in the film. But it's still decent overall. Although there are a few points where you don't really have to look that hard to notice this, but the characters' mouths won't be synced with what they're saying, like, at all. I realize that part of that comes with the territory of dubbing this and everything, but I've seen, you know, companies do a much better job than they did. And it's easy enough to just make it so their mouths are moving and then have the dialogue over top of it, but there's parts where their mouths aren't moving and they're still talking, and it's like, you could have done a little bit better job timing that. But overall, it's a decent film. It's not really great, I wouldn't say, but it's just kind of good for a Resident Evil thing. Personally, I liked it more than pretty much any given one of the Resident Evil live-action films. I don't hate the live-action films, I just don't think they're that special. Although I do have to say, as far as any video game-based film is concerned, they're probably among the best that we have right now. But if you like the games, if you you know, are looking for just something quick and easy to watch, I'd say Resident Evil Degeneration is probably a good fit for that. It's only an hour and a half long, so it's not like you have to, you know, set a whole lot of time aside to watch it. But it does come with this nice slipcover, which I really like, and you've got, you know, Leon and Claire there on the front, the plane, a bunch of zombies, and then you've got them again on the side, and then the back, you have Claire and Zombie, again, a couple of the characters from the film. Then you also have some special features on this disc. You have a look at Resident Evil 5's video game, which is just kind of a look at what the game entails in terms of its story and stuff. The Generation of Degeneration featurette, some voice bloopers, which are, they're not really bloopers so much as they are like, almost take like a YouTube poop format, where the voice actors like maybe put some bloopers in there, and then like the rest of it is just like scenes that are reorganized to make little goofy scenarios. It's fun enough. I wouldn't say I'm ever going to watch it again, but it was kind of funny to watch once. There's like this fake interview with Leon, a bunch of trailers for Resident Evil Degeneration, and then some character profiles, and those are basically just single screens with the information of who the characters are. There's generally less presented on the characters that appear in the video games, because I think they kind of assume you're going to know who they are. And then underneath the slipcover, same artwork, just not shiny. And then you have the disc here with that zombie on the front of it. And then you've got some little cards here for Sony trying to sell more Blu-ray stuff. They drive me nuts with that sometimes. And then Resident Evil Degeneration, apparently there's a mobile game for it. I did not know that. I don't know why Resident Evil 4 Leon is on the artwork here. But then there's also a poster for Resident Evil 5. So that is pretty much it for this DVD review. Like I said, if you like Resident Evil, probably worth watching once if you're just looking for something quick and easy to find. But again, it doesn't really stack up to what the games can provide in terms of story and character development and stuff. Not terribly disappointing, but you know, it's just kind of, it's fun to watch once and then I think be done with it. So that's pretty much it for this review, and with that, I will see you guys next time.